Well, Canada has plans to cut overall immigration numbers by 20% next year, and that includes refugees and protected persons. The UN High Commissioner for Refugees says the move is wise if it helps stabilize the housing market and prevent backlash against newcomers. But this news is not sitting well with people who have loved ones living in unsafe conditions. So today on Blue Sky, we'll hear how a pause on private refugee sponsorship is affecting people here. We'll also hear from people who work closely with refugees about what may be driving this policy change. And we want to hear from you. What do you make of the government's plan to decrease the number of immigrants, including refugees? At a time where conflicts all over the world are creating humanitarian crises, is Canada doing the right thing? Give us a call, 1-800-716-2221. You can also email bluesky@cbc.ca. Hadia Siltani is a refugee from Afghanistan who now lives in Saskatoon. She's one of about 450 refugees who came here through 30 Birds Foundation. The group of mostly girls attended a progressive school in Afghanistan. They were in extreme danger when the Taliban regained control of Kabul. The group came to Canada through private sponsorship. Many of the girls are alone in Saskatoon without family, so now they are fundraising to bring siblings and parents to safety in Saskatoon. But as I mentioned, Canada is now pausing all new private sponsorships until 2026, leaving many of these girls worried. Hadia Siltani did start a GoFundMe to bring her family to Canada, and she joined me in studio to tell me about their situation.
We are 9 people in my family, but now 6 members of my family in Afghanistan is still in Afghanistan. They are my parents, 3 sisters, and 1 brother. Maybe you know the situation in Afghanistan is very, very bad. Worse, I can't say worse, but the woman is not allowed to go school, university, and they can't do job. It is so bad. Me and my friends is here, and we are so worried that our family in my back home, and we can't do anything. Right now it is, you know, my sister is right now she is grade 5 in school, and the Taliban laws the girls cannot go to school after grade 6. She is sometimes she is saying, after 1 year I can't go to school, and it is so bad.
You're so worried about them.
Yes,
and you're so far away.
We are so far, and you know, I am here just 2 years, and I know I'm working just for making money for sponsorship my family, but it is hard for me because I came here just 2 years, and I can't do any more things. And
but is she asking you all the time?
Yes, she is asking. She is saying, after 1 year so I can't go to school. She wants to be engineer in future. She is saying, I can be an engineer in the future, but we can say, maybe you can do. It is so hard for my parents, for me. Yes, we know it's not for just for my family. It is for all girls and for women in Afghanistan. But maybe some family has members in the West countries. They are also doing. They want to bring them family in the outside Afghanistan.
And so you're trying to do that.
Yes.
You started a GoFundMe.
Yes.
To raise money to privately sponsor them.
Yeah.
How much money does it cost? How much money would you have to raise?
This is too much, I think, but $63,000 I need for my sponsorship family.
How much money have you raised so far?
I started fundraising last month. Right now it is $1,000 and 300.
You have a long ways to go, hey?
Yes.
Yeah. And you're working?
Yeah.
Where are you working?
I'm working in Dalarma and Warehouse One store.
2 jobs.
Yeah.
And are you saving some of your own money too?
Just a little, yeah. I'm trying.
Yeah, but $63,000 is a lot of money.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about now, the fact that the Canadian government is pausing private sponsorships until 2026? How might that impact your efforts? How might that impact you?
I don't know. I'm not sure, but maybe the Group of 5 sponsorship is cancelled for refugees, but.
That's where you get 5 people who are willing to
yes,
commit through an organization to help support you and ideally to help you raise some of the money too.
They were. It is a rule. There should be citizenship from Canada, and right now it is cancelled. But I'm trying for another way. Maybe some organization.
Do you feel quite desperate to get them out?
My wish that I want to see. I want to see my parents as soon as possible. I want to see my sisters, my brother, because just I want to see they are going to school. They can go outside freely, and they are feeling free. Right now, I don't have any solution, but I'm trying. I'm trying that. Fundraising the sponsorship money and I want to bring them here.
Yeah. You're listening to Blue Sky here on CBC Radio 1, and we're going to talk about that pause, that decision by the Canadian government to pause private sponsorships. And to do that, we've got Mark Bigland-Pritchard, who spent years learning how Canada's immigration system works. He's the Migration and Resettlement Coordinator with Mennonite Central Committee Saskatchewan. He has helped many families and groups navigate private sponsorship, and he is with us to help us understand what these changes mean for people here. Mark, welcome back to Blue Sky.
Well, thanks for having me on, Leisha.
That was really hard to listen to again, hey?
It is.
It was my second time, and my heart breaks for Hadia.
Yeah.
How are you feeling listening to that?
Well, yeah. I mean, I feel it every time. I mean, obviously, I hear lots of these stories. I hear them from lots of people. I get multiple emails saying, please help me.
Yeah.
And we can't help everyone. Yeah. And that is heartbreaking.
It's very hard.
Yeah. So, I mean, in terms of what the government has decided, back at the end of October, they announced that the number of people who will arrive is due to be reduced. I think you said that earlier. Yeah. By 20%.
Yeah.
And, every category is affected by that. The economic category, the family class, and all the humanitarian categories, which is mostly refugees of various sorts.
And just to make sure that we're clear for people, like when we say the economic class, that would be like temporary foreign worker?
No. This is people who come permanently. So temporary foreign workers and students are quite separate as well.
The SASC Immigrant Nominee Program, is that?
Yeah.
Okay. Because it's quite
it is a
web
complex
of things.
Area. Yeah. And, that economic class is actually the majority of people who come to settle in Canada. Refugees come to, I don't have the figures with me, but I think it's less than a quarter of the people who come. But every class, all of those classes were cut in terms of arrivals back in October. So they then have to think in terms of applications. Because, you apply and then there's a processing time, which is very long for a lot of refugees. And then they arrive. Now, what's been happening in the last few years is largely because of the hiatus that came with COVID, is that we've ended up with an enormous backlog of people who've been applied for, but they haven't had their approval, so they can't arrive.
They're waiting.
They're waiting. There's about 85,000 people waiting, and just in the private sponsorship of refugees class, and actually just in the class that I deal with, the sponsorship agreement holder subclass of that. Okay. So they're waiting a long time. Most of the people that I'm able to bring, that are arriving now, are people that I applied for in 2021. So 3 years.
It's a very long time
That's
to
typical.
be waiting. Yeah.
And lots of things can happen in those 3 years. We've had people attacked. We've had people threatened with deportation. We've had, all sorts of things happening, which, it could have happened if it was limited to 1 year, but it's much more likely if it's that long. So, what the government is doing now is kind of a response to that. It's saying, okay, we won't allow so many applications. But the cut on applications, as it stands at the moment, we don't know what's going to happen in the future, but as it stands at the moment, is just for two kind of subclasses of refugee class. It's for Group of 5,
which is what Hadia mentioned.
Which is what Hadia mentioned.
Yeah.
And it's for community sponsorship. So the other subclass is the one that I work with. I'm the rep of a sponsorship agreement holder. There's about 130, I think, sponsorship agreement holders across the country, and Mennonite Central Committee is one of them that operates in this province. And we can bring people, we are given an allocation each year for how many people we can bring. So the difficulty that I always have is there's far more people than can fit into my allocation. Another difficulty I have is we actually need people who've been in Canada for a while to help with this. And we have had some wonderful people working on this, but we need more. So that's a plug.
Yeah.
But yeah, we don't know what's going to happen to our allocation. We don't hear about that until the end of February next year as to how many we can apply for in 2025.
So this is very much a period of limbo.
It is, yes.
For you.
Yeah.
I want to play an interview with someone else that our colleague spoke to, because we've got a couple of people working on this story. And so Alexander Silberman with CBC here reached out to Alistair Clark, who's an immigration lawyer in Winnipeg. And Alexander asked him why we're seeing such a backlog in applications.
From my point of view, the backlog is due to, number one, a high demand for Canada. Canada is a top destination country for individuals who are trying to find a safe and better life. Number two, we're seeing an increase in the number of conflict around the world. Places in conflict are generally the source of these refugee claimants. And number three, the Group of 5 applications, or the sponsor, generally the private sponsorship of refugee applications, are where we have individuals in Canada who are trying to bring other members of their communities. And so because Canada traditionally has had such a strong reputation within the humanitarian context, these individuals are trying to have connections to their community members, and they're trying to bring their community members to Canada to be part of the community here in Canada.
And do you see a pause as like the government is citing that backlog as a need to pause this? Do you see that as an effective solution to kind of clearing up the backlog and making it easier to process those applications, or do you think other solutions might be more effective?
To be frank, I see this announcement to be politically motivated. These individuals are among the most vulnerable individuals, the most vulnerable groups, and this is a way for the government to make an announcement saying that they are doing something to address the number of applications or to address the backlog and deflect from other issues that we have in the system.
And how does this immigration stream in particular compare to others when we're looking at volume as a whole?
This is a tiny program. The numbers who come through the privately sponsored refugee program are tiny compared to other like economic class applications, family class applications, through temporary foreign worker applications, through provincial nominees, through pretty much every program. I would say, that the numbers for Canada to bring people through the privately sponsored refugee route are extremely small.
The UN High Commissioner for Refugees met with Justin Trudeau, I think a month or a couple of months ago. And one of the things he said is that pro-refugee sentiment is fragile given the state of the economy and the housing crisis. Do you think this played a factor at all? I mean, you mentioned that you think it's a political decision?
It's possible. As we're entering an election year, my guess is that individuals who are part of programs and they are non-voting individuals, they may be targeted by the government. It seems like the government is currently in a state of trying to either impose additional restrictions across the board, and they seem to be taking advantage of anti-immigrant sentiment, which in my view is extremely disappointing. The private sponsor refugee program in Canada used to be heralded as one of the best programs in the world. Ministers of immigration would go and meet with, let's say, European leaders or even meet with their American counterparts, and other ministers of immigration from other what we call them as destination countries, they were trying to copy the Canadian system, because especially with a privately sponsored refugee system where you have communities and individuals who are signing up and putting huge amounts of money into trust accounts in order to support the refugees when they come to Canada. These programs ensure that the government is not on the hook for taking care of them. And in many other countries, they have been trying to do this unsuccessfully. These types of programs, in my view, show that the Canadian populace and these Canadian communities want to support these individuals. They want to pour their own personal assets and resources into bringing these individuals. And as far as I'm concerned, the government should do more to support those communities.
That is immigration lawyer Alistair Clark. He was speaking with the CBC's Alexander Silverman. Our guest in studio today is Mark Bigland Pritchard. He is the Migration and Resettlement Coordinator with Mennonite Central Committee, Saskatchewan. Mark, I was taking a few notes during that, and I have some questions I want to put to you based on some of the things that the lawyer brought up. But we're going to head to news headlines in just a moment with David. So I'm going to allow you to pick up on the point that you want to bring up first after listening to some of what Alistair Clark had to say.
Well, I'd like to do something else now, actually, because, there's a great organisation called the Refugee Sponsorship Training Programme, which helps people who are trying to bring people, especially through those group of five and community sponsorship approaches, but they also connect with us as in the sponsorship agreement holders as well. So I just, if anybody has any questions about what's happening and what could happen, the person to contact there in Saskatoon is Helen Smith McIntyre, and her number is 306 343 8303.
Okay. If you're listening and you were trying to quickly write that down and you missed it, just email us and we'll get you that information. Mark, I appreciate that. Stay with us. We do have more questions for you and more to get to on the show. I'm Leisha Grabinski. You are listening to Blue Sky. You are welcome to join the conversation today. We're talking about a pause that the Canadian government has decided to take with one aspect of the private sponsorship program for refugees, and helping us wade through all the different streams is Mark Biglin-Pritchard. Before we checked in with David there, immigration lawyer Alistair Clark was suggesting, like, yes, this is what he was saying is not a smart way to work through the backlog of applications, and suggested that this could be politically motivated. I am wondering, Mark, what you think of that. Do you agree that that this could be politically motivated?
I think that's highly likely. I think, there's been a lot of issues, especially in Ontario and Quebec, around more the inland applicants, people who've come over the border or who have just arrived in the airport and applied for asylum in Canada. There's increasing unpopularity of bringing people into the country in places where there is already a housing crisis. And I mean, my view is that the housing crisis was there anyway because we haven't got housing sorted out. Because, there aren't enough affordable houses, genuinely affordable homes being built. So, I mean, it seems to me to be a blaming the victim thing that's going on. But, the government responds to that by trying to compromise with it.
How else, though, could they work through that backlog? Like, you said 85,000 applications. I'm actually not sure how many we accept each year. Like, how many from that 85,000 number of applications may we see accepted? I mean, the number is much smaller than that.
Well, under the private sponsorship program, I mean, pretty well everybody gets accepted. There's a few rejections, but not very many. So most of those people will be accepted, nearly all of them.
And do you think they'll get through that number of applications in this next year?
No, but they will get through them eventually. Mm-hmm. As I say, I don't think the current policy is going to reduce that sort of typically 3-year wait, but it may prevent it from going to 4 or 5 years. It's not a good situation. What we were calling for, I mean, when I say we, it's representatives of the sponsorship agreement holders talking quietly with government, but also the Canadian Refugee Council, which can be much more, can take an independent position much more clearly. We were calling for the numbers of arrivals to actually be increased, of private sponsors, simply to get rid of that backlog.
Right. And,
quite a significant increase just for a few years. Obviously, the government decided we're not going to do that.
And just so people understand how this works, when it is that group of 5, they're responsible for raising the money. They would get an apartment or a home ready for a family before they arrive. Correct? Like a lot of the needs of the people who are trying to get refugee status, they would be pretty well taken care of. Like even Alistair said, like this program is considered a model.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, it is a very good program. Canada has done very well in putting this program together, and it's resulted in great organisations like Global Gathering Place, like Open Door Society, and I could name a few others, and I feel bad not naming them all, but it'll take too long. Yeah. And the fact that we are able as MCC to do this in a reasonably efficient way. I mean, obviously we're stressed all the time because there's so much need, but it's Canada has been really quite genuinely a model for the rest of the world, and the rest of the world hasn't really caught up. But this is a retrograde step that we're seeing at the moment, as far as I'm concerned.
We have a caller on the line. Donna joins us right now in Regina. Donna, welcome to Blue Sky.
Thank you.
What are your thoughts on what you've been hearing so far today? And I understand you've got some experience working with families through the United Church.
Yep, I'm in Regina, and everything that Mark said is what I'm hearing at the meetings that I attend. The government is trying to clear their backlog, and I think this year they have 23,000 persons arriving, and next year they're targeting the same. So for me personally, I'm a constituent sponsor, and I've had 10 sponsorship applications arrive, so 27 people in total since April, just this year alone.
Since April?
And, yeah,
I'm impressed.
It's wonderful.
That's incredible.
That's great news. But we do all the settlement. The co-sponsors with us, the family members, and raise the money and help do the settlement. And so there's a lot of work going on. The pause is concerning, but I'm just looking at what I have to do and the work that's in front of me here.
So you're not pausing, I guess, right? Like, will you keep, all the work that it takes to support the people that have arrived, but also looking forward and other folks that you may support? Does your work just continue as best as possible?
It does continue, and I still have a wait list. I mean, there's so many people that want their family members. They want to be reunited with their family members. So I will still put them on a wait list or complete forms and send them forward. Through a sponsorship agreement holder, that is not paused, although the numbers were reduced.
Numbers were reduced. Okay.
Yeah, for 2025, yeah.
Donna, thanks for calling and keep up the incredible work. We need more people like you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good to hear from you today. Thanks. Bye. It's Donna in Regina. Mark, just thinking about how great the need is, we're going to meet someone else who's doing a lot of work in Saskatoon to support another two siblings who are from Afghanistan. And I think about, because I did some storytelling with those girls who came, right? Like 450 people. Yeah. And each of them has 2, 3, 4, 9, right?
Absolutely.
And so it's overwhelming a bit.
It is. And, we have put in applications for some of them, but we can't, we have a limited allocation, and so we can't do it for everyone. And have we chosen the right people? I don't know.
Yeah.
They're all in such need.
Yeah. Well, we are going to hear from someone who's continuing the work too, and we'll introduce you to another family that is trying to reunite family members. So Camila and Ali Jamili. Camila came to Canada in 2022. The next year, her brother joined her. Their parents and brothers and sister also escaped Afghanistan, but are living in another country where they face deportation. So here's Kamala and Ali speaking in a video created by friends in Canada.
Our family escaped Afghanistan because Afghanistan is not safe for them.
They are living in a country that they are not able to work, they are not able to study, and they don't know about their future, how or what will be.
So Camila and Ali's story has touched the lives of many people in Saskatoon since they arrived. There is a group that's actively fundraising to help bring those other 5 family members to Canada. And Tracy Mitchell is part of that group, and she's on the line now. Tracy, hello.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Tell us a bit about how you came to meet, and I'm not sure if I'm saying their names correctly, so please just correct me, Tracy. Camila and Ali.
Yeah. Well, I had been part of a sponsorship previously, and I heard that there were people from Fridays for Future, an organization globally that was looking to find sponsors for several activists from Afghanistan who were in great danger from when the Taliban returned to power in Afghanistan. And so I joined with several other people. Initially, a lot of those folks were involved in climate activism. And we formed a sponsorship group to sponsor Camila. And then, and as well as another family. And then Camila's brother had left Afghanistan separately as a teen. He walked out of the country with a friend as a teenager, and was in an unsafe situation as well. So we sponsored him the next year, and our group is continuing to fundraise to try to sponsor the rest of their family. They haven't seen each other for 3 years. So.
Oh my goodness. I'm looking at some photographs of you and Camila, and I'm wondering about the relationship that you formed with them.
Yeah, I would say, they've become not just friends, but family to me and to, the others in our sponsorship group. We've done a little bit of travel together. They've met my family, and the families of many of our group, and they really just are part of our community now.
And I know many of you have been working so hard to draw attention to these efforts, because we've received a few press releases. You reached out to us, Tracy, and I'll be honest, both Camila and Ali were on my radar. And then reading the Globe and Mail on Saturday, I learned about this pause, and you folks were the first people that I thought of. I thought, oh, this is going to affect them. And is that the case? How have you taken this news?
Well, it's very concerning. We're still kind of waiting to see how it will affect us. Our sponsorship goes through the same program that Mark works with at MCC, and I think it kind of remains to be seen how this will affect their chances of getting a spot next year, and whether they'll be able to or not. I think whether or not it affects the sponsorship agreement holders program that we are going through, it will affect things in terms of the demand, right? Because there are fewer programs that people can go through to get sponsored. And so there will be more competition for spots, and all of these families and individuals that are applying through this program are in, urgent and dire and worrisome situations. So, we're not sure yet how it affects this family, but we're very concerned for them.
And how,
as well as for all the other families.
Yeah, I believe it. How are Camila and Ali taking this news? What are they saying to you?
When we first heard about the pause, we really weren't sure for how this would affect us. We still aren't, but it seems a little bit more hopeful now that maybe the MCC and other sponsorship agreement holders will still have allocations next year. But when we weren't sure, and when we first heard about the pause, they were terrified, for their family, and very stressed about how to support their family, financially and emotionally, for potentially, much longer of a wait to get here. And there are no guarantees in this process anyway, but to know that there's this 1-year pause makes everything just really uncertain for so many people.
Yeah. Mark, are you fielding a lot of calls? I even find it interesting that I had been in touch with Hadia, the woman we heard at the start of the show, before this pause, and had arranged this interview. And so she arrived Monday, and I said to her right away, are you aware of this pause? And she knew all about it, right? Yeah. So are you fielding a lot of calls right now, Mark?
Quite a few, yeah. I think most people understand that our program, through MCC is still going to be there. How big it's going to be, we won't know until the end of February, but we know it's going to be there. So we'll be able to bring somebody.
Yeah.
But for those people who have gone the Group of 5 route, which a lot of people have needed to do because there's so much need. On Friday, I was talking with somebody yesterday who had actually been trying to put together, literally he was at the computer putting the application together for a Group of 5 application. And suddenly on his computer, basically the message said, stop, we've put this program on ice. Mm-hmm. Right in the middle of his attempt to send in the application. That's not how this government has usually approached things. They usually give us a month's notice.
Wow.
But it's not good.
Yeah. Tracy, where are you at with raising money? Hearing from Hadia, she's several members, so $63,000 is what her goal is. Where are you? Where's your group at when it comes to fundraising?
I would say we're about 3/4 of the way to our goal. We need to raise $47,000 for these 5 individuals, and we're at about $33,000 roughly right now. But we've had quite a bit of support. There's over 100 people have given to this particular sponsorship, and so we're doing our best to hit that target, hopefully to be able to put in our application as part of that allotment that Mark's talking about in February, but as soon as we can.
Why do you do this work, Tracy? It's not work, it's volunteer work, but why do you do it?
Yeah, I mean, I think the word that comes to mind is solidarity. You know, I would want this kind of support for, you know, I guess myself and my loved ones if we were in a desperate situation. None of us knows, you know, when we might, you know, experience circumstances that you know lead to needing to flee a country, and you know, certainly the Jamili family didn't plan for this, and so I want, you know, to be there to support them as much as we can. I get to meet incredible people. The Jamilis are really lovely, wonderful folks, you know, and have become you know, active in our community, and it's really rewarding to see them kind of, you know, get settled here and get comfortable here and be able to rebuild their lives after, you know, going through really incredible hardships. So those are some of the reasons.
Mark, how worried are you about what may be coming next? So already you're dealing with this state of limbo, but I am wondering about how a possible federal election could shift things. Of course, we know what's happening in the U.S. with Donald Trump, and you know, things at the border could be getting quite tricky. So, what worries you when you look ahead?
Yeah, you're reading my mind. Yeah, I mean, in this job, it's you know, there's a lot of uncertainty. There's an uncertainty all the time. There's uncertainty about each case that we deal with, because, you know, we don't know what extra hoops they're going to have to jump through during the processing time. But, you know, in terms of the program itself, it's been moderately stable. The few years, 6 years now that I've been doing it. But we do seem to be in a place where it's potentially under threat, I think. I mean, I think we can expect probably some reductions, probably irrespective of who wins the next election, because that seems to be just the way that things are going, unless we can build, you know, a strong community support for refugees, which I think we can do, but we need to do it.
What do you say to people who are worried about Canada getting the right balance? And I know, like, today we're focused on private sponsorship of refugees, which is a different class than, like you said, you know, economic people who are coming for economic reasons to fill jobs, that sort of thing. But for people who have been concerned that maybe we were a bit off kilter, that numbers had increased more than we were able to meet the demands, whether it's housing or even healthcare. You know, if people arrive, we have to be able to support them. So. What do you say to people who are wondering about our ability to strike the right balance?
The answer is to actually build the houses and to train enough doctors and to have enough clinics. You know, we're a rich country. We can do this.
Tracy, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, the need and the urgency, like, I when I hear Camila and Ali's stories and think about, you know, teenage boys, you know, walking for weeks to get out of their country that they're no longer safe in, and seeing, you know, people die along the way as they you know, fled their country. Like, I think people don't understand the urgency and how dire it is, and I don't think that bringing these folks to safety is the reason why, as Mark said, why we have, you know, housing shortage or issues in healthcare. I think, you know, those are issues that need investment to be solved, and, you know, people, I think, deserve to find safety, and if we can help them do that, I think we should. You know, as Mark said, this is one of the wealthiest countries in the world, so I think we should support families like the Jamilis and individuals that you know need the safety Canada can offer.
I'm speaking today with Tracy Mitchell, who is working to support the Jamila family. Tracy is a person who lives in Saskatoon. And then our other guest today is Mark Biglin Pritchard, who's with the Mennonite Central Committee and who works on the refugee and migration file for Mennonite Central Committee Saskatchewan. There is still time to give us a call today if you would like to join the conversation. Our phone number is 1-800-716-2221. You can also email us, bluesky@cbc.ca. We got a note from Michael who says, it is unfortunate that most people base their knowledge from filtered information from political leaders. The road to Canada is filled with hurdles most Canadian-born citizens could not begin to fathom, let alone live the experience. Perhaps people should get involved and assist in changes that are past due. This would actually change people's lives and grow a more peaceful, prosperous, and understanding Canada. You can email us to bluesky@cbc.ca or give us a call, 1-800-716-2221. Tracy, I can see your face and you have a huge smile on your face after I read that email. What's going through your mind?
Well, it's just really nice to hear that. And I mean, I know that it's true that so many people care about, what hardships people in the world are facing and want to support them. I think there is more support than political leaders would lead us to believe. And, I think this is a caring country, a caring society. And it's just nice to hear that put into words. I think Michael worded that beautifully.
Yeah, Mark, you would agree?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And the private sponsorship program is all... It's about helping people who really need help, but it's also about building those understandings, those relationships across language barriers, across cultural barriers, that enable us to be more of more global citizens and more better able to deal with differences.
Which is kind of what we need.
Yeah,
We've done several shows about polarization, and our differences. And that is one way to come together.
Yeah. And I mean, what Tracy was saying earlier about the relationship that she and members of her group have built with Kamala and Ali, that's the sort of thing that we want to see.
I want to share just one more bit from Ali and Camila. I want to kind of give them one of the last words here. So here they are responding to a question about how they're feeling about the prospect of reuniting with family.
I'm excited to see my family again. I miss them a lot and I want to support them and I want to make sure they are safe. Being together make me feel happy and complete.
To see them again and hug in person. Like I want to see how my siblings they grow up and this during 3 years that I was far away from them. And I want to share my Canadian culture with them here and show them here we can have freedom, we can have more facilities, make a brighter future for us here.
So that's Camila and Ali. Tracy, why don't you let people know how they can help? And I'm going to put that question to you, Mark, too, because I think there's a lot of people listening who probably want to help now. But Tracy, with the Jamili family, how can people help?
Yeah, we're looking for group members to join our group. We're also collecting donations still, and those donations are through the MCC website. Folks can email me. My email is facilitrace, FACILITRACE@gmail.com. Or I'm sure if you contact the show, they can put you in touch with us and I can share that info. But really money and help is what we need most right now.
Okay, I'll remind people, bluesky@cbc.ca, one way to get that information from us. Mark, what can people do?
Essentially the same answer. I mean, we need people to do what Tracy's doing. And, I think Tracy would agree it's a rewarding process to support these people, to find friendship, to learn from them, and as well as to help them. This isn't about white guilt. This is about forming relationships and enabling people to stand on their own 2 feet. So, it's a great thing to be doing for those who've got the capacity, who've got the time, and please. We need you because we have no shortage of people coming forward saying, "Please bring my family." And they need help as well, because they're frequently people who've only arrived here a couple of years ago. They don't have the English. They don't have necessarily the knowledge of the way that Canada works.
And the group that you shared with us earlier, Refugee Sponsorship Training Group, and do you want to just say that name again?
Yeah, Refugee Sponsorship Training Program, RSTP. They are kind of they enable people to find routes to sponsorship. But people can approach me as well.
Yeah. I really appreciate both of you spending some time with us today, sharing your story, sharing your insight into this. So, Mark, thank you.
Well, thank you.
And Tracy, thanks to you too.
Thank you very much for having us.
Mark Bigland Pritchard is the Migration and Resettlement Coordinator with Mennonite Central Committee, Saskatchewan. And you heard there from Tracy Mitchell as well, who has been working very hard to make sure people in our city are reunited with family members who are living in precarious situations. I'm Alicia Grabinski. This is Blue Sky.